In this video, we're going to talk about how to mark pattern markings. Pattern markings can come in a variety of shapes. They can be circles, they can be triangles, sometimes they're even squares, sometimes they're filled in, sometimes they're not. But they are always things that are on the inside of the pattern, so they're not going to be on the cut line here. They're going to kind of be inside of that pattern piece. And they tell us that there's going to be something specific in the instructions that will happen at that point. So this is telling me at some point the instructions will refer to this dot, and I will need to know exactly where this point is on my fabric. If you look at my fabric, I don't know what that point is. I'm just looking at the fabric. So I'm going to have to mark that, all right? So in this case, what I'm going to show you is how to mark them. The best way to do it is if you take a pin and you go vertically I mean like straight up and down through that dot or whatever kind of marking it is, okay? So you'll see it's kind of going perpendicular to my fabric edge. I'm just going straight through. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my fabric. Let's pull out a pin out in this situation. I'm going to open up my fabric so that I'm looking at the wrong side, because I want to mark the wrong side of my fabric, not the right side of my fabric. That way this pattern marking that I'm making is hidden away, okay? If you look close, you can see where my needle comes through. Remember, it's going straight through, it's going vertically through. When I open it up, I can see where that point is on my fabric. And then I would use a marking pencil or some sort of marking tool to mark this. In my case, I'm using a marker just so that you can see it a little bit better, but you would use something that's removable and used for marking fabric. And I'm just gonna go ahead and put a dot where my pin is coming through, where the pin meets the fabric, on the wrong side of fabric on both sides. That way I have this dot marked on my fabric on the wrong side, so when my instructions talk about it, I know exactly where that dot is. And I would do the same thing for all three of these dots. Now I want to look at this other pattern piece right here because it has a triangle pattern marking. It has a notch here, which is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this triangle pattern marking, and I need to know where that triangle is. So I'm going to put my pin vertically through it again. So it's going perpendicular to my edge there. I'll open it up so I'm looking at my wrong side of my fabric. I will use a marking tool that comes out. So maybe a marking pencil or an air-soluble pen or something like that. And I'll do dots where the pin is coming through my fabric, and I can remove it, and I have those dots marked, and I know where they are when my instructions talk about them. This is a really important step whenever you're cutting out your pattern pieces. You always want to go through then and mark any pattern markings, because otherwise you'll get to the part of your instructions where it's saying, find this dot and match it to the other dot, and then sew them together. And you'll be so confused because you won't know where that dot is. You'll have to fish out your pattern piece again and mark it. So just do it right away when you first cut out your pattern pieces, and you will be very grateful later.